Okay, let's just dive right into this explainer. Because right now, literally as you're sitting there watching this, your kidneys are filtering about 40 gallons of fluid a day. 40 gallons. They do this through these hidden microscopic water treatment plants that are working tirelessly inside you. You know, we rarely think about our kidneys until something goes wrong. But the sheer engineering required to keep our blood clean and our bodies balanced, it is nothing short of a biological masterpiece. So today, we're going to explore exactly how this incredible excretory system actually works.
Now, we aren't just talking about one single filter here. You have millions, literally millions, of these tiny structural and functional units called nephrons. They are the absolute true heroes of the kidney. Their entire job, 24/7, is dedicated to forming urine and pulling waste materials directly out of your bloodstream.
Looking at this blueprint, you can see how it breaks down the nephron into a few specific components. You've got this cup-shaped Bowman's capsule, and then this winding series of tubules. They all work together perfectly to filter out the bad stuff and keep the good stuff. Honestly, the proper functioning of these millions of nephrons is absolutely essential for your survival.
So here's our roadmap for today. 1. The microscopic filter. 2. Ultrafiltration, the first pass. 3. Reabsorption, saving the good. 4. Secretion, the final purge. And 5. When the system fails.
Okay, section 1. The microscopic filter. Let's look at the anatomy of the nephron.
The really crucial point here is tracing the blood's path. If you follow the red pathways, you see oxygenated blood rushing in through the renal artery, right into what's called the afferent arteriole. This brings the blood directly to this highly specialized, tightly coiled little network of capillaries known as the glomerulus. And look at how that glomerulus sits so snugly inside that cup-shaped structure, the Bowman's capsule. This right here is ground zero for the filtration process. Once the blood gets filtered, it exits via the efferent arteriole, and then the oxygen-depleted blood eventually leaves through the renal vein.
But what happens to the fluid that just got squeezed into the Bowman's capsule? Well, that filtrate doesn't just drop straight into the bladder. It goes on a highly specific, winding journey. From the capsule, it enters the proximal convoluted tubule, or PCT. Then it plunges deep down into that U-shaped loop of Henle. After that, it travels back up to the distal convoluted tubule and finally dumps into the collecting duct. And every single twist and turn on this path serves a very distinct chemical purpose. So, to summarize, this biological plumbing setup basically performs 4 very specific actions in sequence: ultrafiltration, reabsorption, secretion, and ultimately, urine formation. It's this precise sequence that guarantees our blood stays clean and our hydration and salt levels stay perfectly balanced.
Moving on to section 2, ultrafiltration, the first pass. This is where we sort the waste from the blood. So this intense first pass happens right there in the glomerulus. The blood pressure is so high at this specific spot that it literally forces materials straight out of the capillaries and into the Bowman's capsule. But it's not just waste being pushed out. It's everything. Water, essential salts like sodium chloride, and even vital organic compounds like glucose and amino acids get forced into the tubule system alongside the bad stuff like toxins, urea, and drugs. It's basically a massive, non-discriminatory purge of your plasma components.
Which brings us to section 3, reabsorption, saving the good. We need to take back those nutrients and water. Because, obviously, your body can't afford to just lose all those valuable nutrients and water it just filtered out, right? So the body uses active transport, meaning it actually expends energy to aggressively pull things back, working alongside passive transport too. You can see how crucial elements like sodium chloride, water, and nutrients are aggressively pulled back into the bloodstream by the proximal convoluted tubule. And as that fluid travels down into the outer and inner medulla, through the descending and ascending limbs of the loop of Henle, your body is constantly fine-tuning everything. It's reabsorbing exactly the right amount of water and salt to keep the concentration of your urine just right.
All right, section 4, secretion, the final purge, removing the extra stubborn wastes.
Now, as the fluid continues its journey back up into the cortex, we hit a completely different phase. It's absolutely crucial to understand the difference here. While reabsorption was all about saving the good stuff your body needs, secretion is the exact opposite. Secretion is the active, forceful pumping of additional, stubborn wastes that somehow didn't get pushed out during that first ultrafiltration phase. So the body grabs these specific ions and wastes directly from the blood and literally shoves them back into the tubule.
If we look over on the right side of our chemical map, you can see how this all builds up in the distal convoluted tubule, or a DCT. See those arrows pointing into the tubule? That is the final purge in action. Potassium and hydrogen ions are being actively secreted into the fluid right here. And this does something amazing. It perfectly regulates the pH of our blood, right before the fluid makes its final descent into the collecting duct. That's where it officially becomes fully formed urine, ready to head to the ureter.
Finally, Section 5. When the system fails, medical intervention through dialysis. So what actually happens when this phenomenal biological process breaks down? Like when the kidneys get damaged and just can't perform ultrafiltration or secretion anymore? Well, toxins build up incredibly fast. That's when medical science has to step in with hemodialysis. A machine basically uses a mechanical circuit where a blood pump pulls unfiltered blood out from the patient's arm and pushes it through this artificial filter called a dialyzer. This dialyzer is essentially acting as an artificial glomerulus and Bowman's capsule. It removes the waste that the body simply can't handle anymore.
But running this artificial system takes intense precision. I mean, the blood is physically removed and pumped through an external circuit. So to keep it from coagulating outside the body, they use a heparin pump to prevent clotting. Arterial and venous pressures have to be constantly monitored by the machine. And once the dialyzer actually filters the blood, it passes through a critical safety mechanism, an air trap and detector. This is literally to ensure that absolutely no dangerous air bubbles make it back into the bloodstream. Only after all that is the perfectly filtered, clean blood returned to the patient. It's a massive lifesaver for sure, but it is an incredibly demanding process compared to what our bodies just do naturally.
It truly is a miracle of microscopic engineering, isn't it? Your nephrons are using pressure, active transport, and passive gradients to flawlessly balance your body's entire chemistry every single second of every single day. Seeing the sheer effort it takes to replicate this with a massive dialysis machine really leaves you wondering, with millions of these tiny filters working silently inside us, are we truly giving our kidneys the care and hydration they actually need to keep us alive? Definitely something to think about the next time you reach for a glass of water.